Tuning in the 6-3 podcast. I'm your host, Joel, my co-host, Ben. Going to be a quick week for us, I think. We're not a whole lot to cover. College Bowl season does kick off this week, so we will cover the first 11 games leading up to through next Wednesday. And then we will talk about the Lions. Crazy COVID flu week going into the Broncos game and last Sunday, and then previewing this Sunday's game for the Cardinals, which is, is it sad or is it happy that it's my second to last Lions game of the year that I have to go to?
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, but it's,
it's bittersweet. I don't know. I mean,
because
after a while, we know how bad this team is, and they can't be 0-17 anymore. Then it's like, all right, I'm driving 2 hours for what?
Right. What am I driving for here?
And the weather can be inclement this time of year in Michigan, so it's like you never know what you're going to get. Is it worth it? So
exactly.
So yeah, let's see how worth the rest of the season. And obviously, we knew when we talked last Wednesday that some of the flu issues were just kind of starting. I think they had put one person on the COVID list. We didn't think that it would transpire the way it did the rest of the week, and then leading through this week with like 6 other NFL teams in pretty strict COVID protocol right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously they were shorthanded. They were pretty much running in exactly 48 people that they could have stood up for that game. And then right off the bat, Jerry Jacobs and Alex Anzalone get hurt, and Jacobs is out for the year. Anzalone's probably not playing this coming week either. So those are been some pretty big injuries for players that have stepped up on that Lions defense. I think they're going to be without Swift this week. It looks like they're out without Hawkinson, who still hasn't practiced. And we see DeAndre Hopkins is out for the rest of the regular season for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
That's not really a deal breaker. There's still the weapons of Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk, Zach Ertz, James Conner, Chase Edmonds may be back this week if they activate him off IR, which they thought. And they thought they might have last week. Before the Monday night game.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So it could be closer than later. Obviously, they just lost to Matthew Stafford. So maybe that Lions magic that Stafford had still rubs off, and Lions deserve probably one more win, and they still don't have to worry about losing that top pick. So
yeah, I mean,
if this is the game they win, though, then you really worry they beat the Falcons, and then you worry maybe you can beat the Packers at home when they're resting players.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to pick this as a win. I actually would pick it as a probably pretty healthy loss.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, regardless of any issues the Cardinals have, they're still an upper echelon team right now. Even though they lost, they did lose to the Rams. But the Rams are, however up and down they've been lately, they're still a good team. So, yeah, I mean, hitting on this past week, we were kind of talking about it during the game. Like, most everything was breaking in the right direction for the Lions in the first half. And, that's why it was still a pretty close game. And it just kind of imploded in the second half, partially probably due to some of the injuries / COVID or flu issues. And then also, I mean, they started turning the ball over, and that's game over. Lions turn the ball over, they're never going to win a game with that roster.
Yeah, too much, yeah. And even Mark Sanchez brought it up in that game. They too small. Like, it's the margin of error is so small.
Right. And he even said, it's like, look, the margin of error in the NFL in general is crazy small, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that if you're anybody, but it's even more so if you're the Lions.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just, there's no margin for error there. You've got to pretty much, and I've talked about it last couple of weeks, you have to cut these games perfectly. Everything's got to go exactly how you expect it to, or you need it to go in order for you to even have a chance. And it's happened. This is kind of where I give some credit to the coaching staff, because they know that. You can tell by the way they coach these games, they know that. And they have cut it almost perfectly a number of times this year. Even a lot of those close losses early in the season, they've done it exactly how they needed to. That's how they had to be. Mm-hmm. But then, yeah, you implode, you start turning the ball over, and yeah, the game's going to end pretty quickly at that point. And then it kind of becomes more of a laugher. So, yeah, looking ahead, the sad thing is, like, Jacobs is one of the more fun guys to kind of keep tabs on during this run, just because he's, was unheralded coming into the year. And now obviously, he's out for the season. He's had such a good year to this point. And Anzalone, yeah, he's vocal, emotional leader of that defense to this point, or had at least become that. And now he's probably not going to play this week either. So, yeah, I mean, the only other thing is you're going to, I mean, not that you hadn't been seeing it before, but you're just going to keep seeing new faces and seeing what they got. So if you're a coaching staff or you're the GM evaluating what's going on out there, at least you've got plenty of tape on a lot of these guys. So that's all you can hope for if you're the Lions. I don't really expect to win. It could be another game though, where if everything kind of the flow of the game is going the right way and the way things are kind of going, it could be another game where it's close at halftime. But even if it is, I'm still gonna not feel great about it. So,
well, so the Lions actually they signed 4 players to the secondary after this week. So this is a lot. They were awarded Brady Breeze, who we talked about, the rookie on the top names list.
We did
during our draft, and he's from the Titans, and a lot of people have pretty high hopes on him that he can be at least a role player.
Yep.
At the least. Jacobs obviously on IR. Rodney Smith is a running back that they signed to the practice squad. That was their only offensive player they signed. Then they were also awarded and assigned a corner from San Francisco, Savon Smith, who I believe is from NIU.
Yep.
And then they signed Shakur Brown, who we remember from Michigan State.
Yep.
And Chris Williams is another corner that they signed. And then they got Javon McKinley, who was the big wide receiver from Notre Dame. They activated him off injured reserve to the practice squad. So again, depending on sickness, sounds like Dan Campbell said the flu is over.
Yeah.
Obviously, still some COVID issues. You got to get negative tests over the next couple of days to be eligible to play. But because I believe they were all vaccinated players, so I think just NFL's COVID rules are you have to have like 2 negative tests before the game.
Yep. I think that's what it is. This has kind of been the week of last 2 weeks, but this week especially leading up to it's kind of been the week of reckoning for the NFL COVID protocols, because I mean it's league wide now. I mean, it's not just one team, it's not just a couple players across the league. I mean, it's league wide. Multiple teams are having massive problems with it right now, and this was kind of your worry. I mean, if you're a Lions fan, you don't really care as much right now. I mean, you hope guys are healthy and nothing, whatever. But it's not really affecting the outcome of how you look at this season. But I mean, if you're a Browns fan, I mean,
they're on the outside looking in for the playoffs, and they need
right, and they're fighting tooth and claw to even have a chance, right? And their whole team's decimated. I mean, Baker's got it now. So.
And Landry, Jarvis Landry does.
Yeah, Jarvis Landry's got it. I mean, their backup's what? Case Keenum, I think, right?
Yeah, Case Keenum.
So, I mean,
who's a good backup, but
good backup. Probably, he might be the best backup in the league. But
Mitchell Trubisky's in that conversation.
Yep, he is. But this kind of sucks if you're a team that's fighting for playoff position and you end up with this problem. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's been weird. I mean, obviously, viruses are going to virus. They're going to. It usually comes in outbreaks quite often. So, maybe if obviously people get, unscathed through here. I mean, these are some of the healthiest people in the world. Yep. And NFL teams and medical doctors do the research on comorbidities because that affects draft stock. Even Maurice Hurst dropped so far just because of a potential heart issue. So they do their research. These guys probably don't have comorbidities. And then they're also amongst the healthiest people in the entire world. So, that's probably just going to be, a super tired week for them for the most part, working the way through it. And then obviously they may not have to deal with the issue again, just based on how the body's natural immune system deals with it.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the hope. But unfortunately, in the thick of things, week 15, this isn't when you want it. You would have preferred this week 7 or something.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. If you had to choose, I know every head coach and team would have been like, yeah, maybe like week 3.
Maybe the preseason. Cool. Yeah.
Not at all would be ideal, but if we have to, let's just choose week 1 even would be better than this.
Yeah. You can't be in the last 5 weeks of the season are that's not going to work out very well.
Right. It sucks for teams in playoff hunts, when they're not either firmly in it already or, firmly all the way out of it. It's those teams that are kind of in between, that are probably still pretty good teams. Some of those teams. I mean, I think the Browns are still have a are still a good roster. But not this week. They're not. So
what kind of score are you putting up for the Cardinals Lions game? As of now, obviously based on what we know on the injuries, because we did that last week too.
38-14.
That's a good pick. I said 35-20, but I kind of think that Matt Prater will hit 3 field goals against his old team. So I'm just for the sake of that, we'll say 9 points from 4 touchdowns. So 37? Yeah, 37. 37-20. We'll go with that.
All right. I struggle seeing the Lions score much more than a couple touchdowns, but
yeah, I think 2 and then 2 field goals. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But Goff has been significantly more aggressive which I appreciate, but I think that helps, in a DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, where it's like those guys are just so reliable to just chuck down.
Right.
And it's like, now it makes my job easy.
Well, and it's like, okay, I'm taking 6 free yards here probably if I check it down to Swift versus this receiver kind of sucks. I'm not going to force it to him. I'm going to just check it down to Swift. He's probably our best player. So
I'm on Ross St. Brown has gotten 12 targets the last 2 games, so he's getting the bulk.
Yeah, and Reynolds has been good. He's been a good addition. I've enjoyed. I'm happy they.
I think he stays. I think he could stay next year. I think they might sign him next year. But
I've always liked him. I mean, I don't think he fit necessarily what the Rams want to do, and obviously he's not a number 1. He might be considered our number 1 right now, but
it's kind of sad.
But
because I think he's a 3 best case.
Yeah, I think he's a 3 and it's a solid 3.
He's either the best 4 in the league or he's like a middle range 3.
Right. Exactly.
So, which I thought was almost what Tyrell Williams was. Tyrell Williams I thought was a bottom 2. So
yeah,
that didn't work out very well week 1.
No.
Good times, man. So